Hey everyone, excuse me. Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to BRAP. It is Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about. Look, I thought this was going to be a slower news week, and then we get an update on RedFall. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, but I do have a guest with us, returning guest, having Nate. This gentleman has we were talking about this before we went live. He literally has the best gaming setup I've ever seen of anyone on Twitter. So, Nate, welcome back to BRAP. How are you today, man?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain, man. Can't complain.
Good. Yeah, man,
It's
just got off work. It's been a crazy day. Uh, Lots of, opinions and information, but I think overall, uh, the pulse is very obvious what's been going on, so I'm just ready to get into it.
no doubt, man. I tell you what, man, we are still eating well over here on the PC side of things. I just want to reiterate. It's funny, man, like, because a lot of people will come in here and they'll be like, "Oh, BRAP, you're a pony." Usually, sometimes I get bot every once in a while. It's like you kind of throw them for. You get the people that, "Oh, you're just a bot," and I get the pony stuff. And meanwhile, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, I mostly play on PC, but yeah, because if you're not gaming on PC, you should, because PC is the best platform, and I'll just leave it at that. I think you would agree with me, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the funny thing. I explained to somebody at one point. I was like, the person who just keeps winning in all this is PC gamers, and I just keep laughing about it. And when they made this announcement, I was like, oh, well, that sucks, but not for me. So, yeah, PC is definitely winning and keeps winning.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I thought too. I said, you know what, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to play this game on PC. I mean, it wasn't as soon as, and we'll talk about Redfall here, but as soon as that announcement came out, I'm like, okay, I'm going to definitely play this game on PC. Starfield, that's not even a
Not even a question.
not even a question.
Yeah.
If you can get a decent PC rig, I would encourage you to do so, just to play Starfield, because that game, if you play Bethesda games, massive open world. I mean, like, just huge. I mean, there's massive open world games, and I just feel like I know some people were kind of poo pooing the way Starfield looked. I thought Starfield for a open world Bethesda game looked really good, and I think that it's going to be one of those games that could be demanding, and I'm not betting on 60 FPS for Starfield on a console. PC, different story, but I'm not seeing that on console. And look, I mean, like we know this about being PC gamers, man. Like, it's the PC gamers. The thing that I love about is the options. I love the options. The ability to customize, set your own standing, or not your own standings, but your own settings. I toggle between 1440p, 1080p on Halo Infinite, depending on performance. I'm usually about 1440p at high settings and about 144 FPS. But sometimes I want to crank it up to ultra settings. I'll dial it down to 1080p and ultra graphical settings, and it's having that option is just nice. It really is. It gives you just a lot of flexibility. I know people complain about, you got driver updates. It's not even like it was like years and years ago where, you had driver updates, and you almost had to be like tier 1 help desk, tier 2.
Oh no, yeah, it definitely used to be a lot more involved and a lot more issues. I mean, I still get, one or two issues a year where I'm just like, it gets on my nerves. But I mean, I work in IT, and I've been building them since, like, the late 90s. So I mean, it's not that crazy for me. I'll quickly take it apart, put it back together, no problem. But most people, honestly, even because I've built more PCs for friends and family in the past couple of years than I have in my entire life. So it's become much more popular. Way more people want it. Um, a lot of kids these days see streamers and so on, and they see the benefits that come with that, being able to play, whether it be Fortnite or whatever else they want to play at 120 plus FPS. And like you said, the customizability, I know somebody recently on Twitter that were mutuals, and he upgraded to the 7900 XFX or XTX, and but he did it because he's specifically on a 4K monitor. But he had the same 3080 that I do, but I play on 1440p. So mine is going to hold out because the balance and where the cards are for me right now, I want to wait till the next cards come out based on the pricing and the scale. And because of the, like you said, the customizability, I can do that and my card's going to be just fine. But because he made the decision to go to 4K, you need to increase in VRAM, and then you can make that decision accordingly. And just kind of curate your upgrade. And there's just so many different options and things like that. And honestly, largely the majority of the rest of the the parts and stuff for PC have become really, really affordable, with the exception of Nvidia um, going crazy with the recent 4090 price. But otherwise, yeah, it's all been really well
Yeah.
curated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was thinking about the like how we used to have, you literally did kind of have to troubleshoot back then. But now it's that process of downloading drivers is, like I'm more familiar with NVIDIA. So with NVIDIA, it's like you get the notification, new driver update, hit install driver update, and you're good to go. that's pretty much it.
It's not hard at all. The only time you ever really have a technical thing, and honestly, I find I really don't even have to do this either, is if you ever have to roll back a driver. But even then, that's so rare. Like I honestly haven't had to roll back a driver in years.
I've done it like maybe a handful of maybe twice. I've done it for some new releases in the past year or so, but that hasn't been the norm for me. I think the worst issue I ever had in Nate was Windows crashing, and I had to reinstall Windows, and that was actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be, and so I did that pretty easily. So yeah, but I know people are gonna get people don't like when you talk about PC too much, though. Like that's kind of like the rule of podcast. People are like, PC talk, But look, if you could do it, go out and buy a PC. I'm telling you right now, if you want the definitive Xbox experiences, buy PC. Because you can get a Game Pass Ultimate on PC.
Well, let's tell you that the truth is, and this is something I had a conversation with somebody earlier, is that the majority of influencers and the like that talk about Xbox, that have Xbox channels, actually play on PC, which is funny. And that was kind of the whole ordeal with the Redfall thing recently, with all the influencers being flown out to play the game and whatnot. They all played it on PC. And this was something I commented on earlier. The majority, if not all the time, when Xbox showcases their games, they're often featured on a high-end PC first and foremost. Yeah, so a lot of times people are not getting the visual representation of exactly what they're going to get. Like, I knew the moment that I saw the footage that was shown from IGN that, okay, this is obviously a different version, because if you look at some of the other footage, you can tell the increase in shadows, lighting differences, like texture mapping, like everything is just a huge step above. So yeah, I mean, it's like you said, if you can, it's the best way. And I mean, more and more people are getting into it. I have tons of people DMing me all the time. What should I do? How should I start? And then like you said, like even if you're not jumping out the gym with money, that it's cool. Like there's a ton of financing options. A bunch of places have sales all year long. I mean, it's Black Friday half the year with iBuyPower and all these other companies. And if you select the right parts, even from those companies, you can get a really top-end PC with a decent warranty, and you'll still be okay. There's tons and tons of ways to do it.
There's something to be said for that. Like I did not build my PC. The one I have now, I just got a new one. What's a year old now, so it's not. I guess it's not really new, but I went to CyberPower, and I had Slow-Mo and Game Logic help me with picking out parts. So what I did was I took a model they had and just swapped out the parts that they selected for me. And I went with a Intel 1200. Was it 12700K? I think it is.
Yeah.
Why am I forgetting?
That's a solid.
I think when I selected it a year ago, it was the newer CPU from Intel, if I'm not
it
mistaken.
was, because right now we're on the 1300 model, so you're only barely one behind.
Yeah, 12700K. Yeah, and like that CPU's up. I mean, like Game Logic's like, and Slum are like, get that CPU. It's great bang for your buck. Just get it. And it was kind of like, I don't know if I want to, spend the money. And I'm glad I did. And then I went with a 3070. So, and then I did go with Gen 3 M.2 NVMe SSDs, 2 of them. Because Game Logic was like, you're not really, because you'll be fine. There's nothing really taking advantage of Gen 4 per se. But yeah, no.
Speaking of which, that's a fun fact though. Now that we're currently talking about it, for a lot of, if some people don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the thing that goes back and forth, which is because I constantly get asked, if I game on PC, why do I still game on console, and the like, and back and forth, right? Well, there's kind of an ebb and flow between the two. But funny enough, consoles still usually determine the jump or usage in new technology. Something that was promised to PC years and years ago was direct storage, which is only really now being put into play because games are requiring faster and faster load times. So even though for the longest we've had SSDs, I've had SSDs for years, even when I was playing on my PS4 Pro, right? But it wasn't really being utilized over, I think it was 480 Mbps. And there's a video on YouTube where you can see this. They had like a 6000 Mbps graphics, or not graphics card, but an SSD. And they loaded like Battlefield, and all of them loaded at the exact same speed because there's a threshold, right? But with stuff like, when the PS5 dropped, right, with its, using the PCI 4.0 or whatever, Gen 4 4.0 SSDs, the speed and the way that it utilized all the speed, because it was designed from the ground up to utilize that. And that is like, your computer always had the capability, but it needs the computer itself to tell it how to utilize that speed properly. So now, because it's being pushed with the SSDs on the consoles, now Microsoft got off their butt and actually started pushing direct storage on PCs. So now PCs are actually finally going to start to get the full benefit of these faster SSDs during gaming and the like. And now you'll even see, right, something like, and there were more before this, but their own game, Flight Simulator, was one of the first ones that really started to show a requirement for an SSD. For a requirement to play the game.
That would make sense for that game
properly. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So you'll see, like, that's where like a good back and forth just kind of shows you how like they help each other out. They're not really at each other. But there's certain things that, like, PC doesn't have a platform holder. Despite people saying Microsoft, everybody thinks that you hear the jokes, Xbox is PC and PC is Xbox, at least until we get something that they don't, then they don't like PC no more.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. I don't know if anyone got that reference, but go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, like I said, the all this stuff just kind of flows together, and then you get the end of a generation with consoles, and then they fall behind PC a little further, and then you get the refresh, PlayStation 5 and so on and so forth, and then they catch back up, and then they go back and forth. But they have a very healthy relationship right now. And I think people, if they played both, they'd realize how much more symbiotic it is. But yeah, I mean, personally, I see more and more people, and this is the part that people don't like, with, of course, Xbox being day and date on PC. It's redundant to have them both in the same exact setup, because playing on your PC is always going to trump playing on your Xbox.
That's the issue I have too, is that I have my Series X here, my PlayStation 5, and my PC all in the same room. I have another Series X in the room next to my gaming room. But that's mostly, like, my kids mostly use that Series X, and then my older has a Series S. He's also got a gaming PC, So he plays a lot of Forza Horizon. He's got his own subscription to Game Pass, and he was playing Forza Horizon quite a bit on the Series S, and then when I gave him the PC, the old PC, he started playing on the PC more. He's like, he just likes it better. He's able to kind of mess around with the settings and everything. So, but you know what I forgot to do, Nate? I forgot to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. If you could do me a quick solid, please smash that like button. We have like 82 people here watching and only 23 likes. So let's get the like count up. And if you're new to the show, do me a solid and subscribe. Hit the bell notifications so you're alerted when we go live. I did drop a link here in the live chat. Please retweet the link or post the link to tonight's show on whatever your favorite social media platform is. Let everyone know that we're live. So, but Nate, I do want to talk about Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Have you had the chance have you seen it yet? The movie did release this past weekend. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm planning to, hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but my girl, she's wanting to take the nieces and nephews to go see it. It kind of snuck up on me, funny enough, despite how big it was and everybody kind of going to see it in the community. But I think I wanted to see the kind of pulse, from the community and see what everybody really thought of it at first. But it seems like it's just a good time, feel good type movie. It seems like people had a lot of laughs about it. That's kind of what I'm gathering from it. Obviously, clearly, it's destroying box office records. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it more than I was before it came out. Like, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel because I only go a couple times a year to the.
You mean you weren't sure how you felt about Chris Pratt voicing Mario? Because I was kind of like,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel you. I wasn't. I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that because I grew up playing Mario. It's always me, Mario, and that was just that's not Chris Pratt. But it sounds like it pulled it off. So yeah, I mean you're right. You said it smashed records. I mean it's a blockbuster. I mean it generated 377 million global and 204.6 million domestic. Those numbers surpass the starts of recent installments by Universal Pictures' biggest franchise like Jurassic World Dominion, 145 million domestically. So Jurassic World Dominion was terrible, I thought. Fast and Furious 9. Look, you're putting up these kind of numbers as a movie franchise or a movie. I think it's safe to say there's probably going to be a sequel. I think this also speaks to, the metaverse, right? Having, these IPs, as, television shows, video games. Nintendo's got some intellectual property that's very popular, and Mario being probably the most popular, most recognizable figurehead in video games. And I think that this movie's success kind of speaks to that. So, but yeah, I mean, Fusion 64 is saying Pratt is solid in the movie. So I'm looking forward to checking it out. Hopefully I get to check it out this weekend. I hope. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's most likely when I'll end up checking it out myself. Like Sam said in the chat there, I mean, Nintendo is nostalgic. It's going to lower a lot of people. I mean, nostalgic and iconic. I mean, let's be real. Like, I mean, I've been gaming for over 30 years now, and like Mario has literally been a part of it since I could hold a controller. I haven't always loved it every year. My gaming taste has changed and evolved and sometimes come away from particularly platformers for me, but I've always agreed that the games, regardless if it wasn't specifically for me, that they've always been done really well. So I mean, like, Nintendo's just done a phenomenal job with the franchise over the years, keeping it relevant, whether it's with your kids, whether it's still with you, whether it's still, with and it's for everyone ultimately. So yeah, like for the movie to come out, like I was just like, if you can get both parents and children alike to be excited for something, you're gonna do numbers. And I mean, I think it's pretty obvious here, and not only with them, but like you said, recently, even in the TV universe with The Last of Us breaking uh House of Dragons records and stuff like that, which is insane because that show set some crazy records already. It goes to show, when you pull off something really, really great, that is loved by fans of something prior, like we are so passionate about gaming, it kind of shows through and people can see it, because I got to it was kind of cool to talk to a bunch of people, as it pertains to The Last of Us that didn't play the game. They maybe seen us play it over the years and asked us, what's that? Somebody sees you playing it in passing in your family or something that doesn't really game, or whatnot, or they come over and check out your setup or whatever. But now to have them see it and like get into that world and things like that, like way more people I find are more interested now, and a ton of people who haven't gamed, my girlfriend's some of her coworkers are like, how good at gaming do I need to be to play this game? Now they're curious because they're like, I've been missing out on this world or this universe, and now you're telling me what I experienced in the show, I can get more of it in a different perspective and experience something entirely different, at a different level. And it's like, well, yeah, like, so now you're getting all these people who are intrigued. And I mean, it was very obvious by like the 400% increase in sales. So yeah, I mean, it's the crossover universe is on, man. But they got to maintain the quality. That's the key to anything. I was kind of like the run up for Netflix. The reason why Netflix went up and the reason why they're essentially the only, live server, or not live service, but streaming service that I had never canceled, is because as much as I give them crap and as much as they annoy me for constantly going up on the price for some stuff, almost every time there's always something on there that I either haven't watched or, I'm just like, I could watch that. Like it's never completely like devoid of something I wouldn't watch, right? So I think that's kind of the key. As long as they keep the quality consistent in a lot of this stuff they're bringing, I think we're just going to get more and more of it. And we keep hearing about more, adaptations already. Companies are super curious now. What else is out there that we could do? And then we saw Uncharted, which wasn't bad. Like I know people were like, kind of going crazy on that one, but that was all right too. Like it wasn't terrible. So yeah, I think we're just gonna get more of it, man. And Mario knocked it out the park like he always does.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We're gonna get more movies, television adaptations of video games. So that's going to happen, and I mean, it's already happened. So, oh my gosh, is that Ham Solo? TWFS podcast is Get a PC if you're sad about the frames. Yeah, like, hey, we said it before when we went live today. Get a PC if you want performance. So I'll just leave it at that. But all right, so I do want to talk about Redfall. So here's the thing, Nate, and I'm going to take some time here to kind of, because again, the issue I had with fanatics that and look, there's fanatics, fanboys, whatever you want to call them, console warriors on both sides, right? They're just, we're not gonna pretend they're not. They are.
Absolutely.
But for this conversation, because it's related to Xbox, I do want to just take people kind of, because what I get, what's frustrating a little bit, what I find disingenuous is when people, when you articulate and provide, tangible evidence or data points or facts, whatever you want to call it, about a specific product, and you're describing your use case for that product and your expectation for that product, and maybe how that product hasn't lived up to your expectations, people get mad. Oh, you're a pony. You're an Xbox hater, et cetera, et cetera. Like the usual. And it's just like, no, like you can be a consumer, purchase a product, and make criticisms of that product that you purchased. And at the same time, like certain aspects of that product. I mean, like those two things can exist. You know, there could be certain things about, you know, I will use food as the analogy. You may enjoy going to McDonald's, but you may say, God, you know, those fries are freaking awesome, but man, those Big Macs taste like crap. You know, it does like this idea that you have to be all in, that you can never criticize a product I keep saying it's anti-consumer behavior to a T.
No, I mean, and I agree. Like, I mean, it completely is. Like, I have been, and I'll tell people, you know, that, like I told you, I've been lucky enough, and I always say that because everybody didn't have the ability to, right, to be back and forth on PC and consoles for, you know, dozens and dozens of years now, right? But I am, you know, and I'll talk about it, you know, the reason I've played on PlayStation is because they've delivered the best gaming experiences in my 20, you know, in their 27 years plus on the market. For me personally, you know, they've exposed me to JRPGs and a bunch of other genres and, you know, things that are not available elsewhere. But I am the first person to be on their neck the moment they get caught slipping. Always, because if I'm not, I know that they need to know that when they slip up or they mess up, it's not okay. You know, I'm paying the money, I'm footing the bill, you know, helping them afford these big buildings and all these major budgets, and, you know, for a lot of people to work their dream job. So yeah, like, you know, respectfully on their neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, you know, going crazy with it, but I'm going to let it be known when they come out with something and it's not up to the standard. You know, I expect, you know, a top tier quality product, as they've given me for many, many years. So when they do come out with something and it's not, I'm definitely going to get on it, you know. And when they fail, you know, this security protocols or whatever else, whatever it is they fail at, I'm going to get on them, you know. And it's like, I personally, and like you said, I've gone, and I've followed tons of people, for the record, that have and have played on Xbox for years, right? People that are super cordial and that definitely want the best for that brand as well. But like you said, if the pulse on the community, and, you know, when they look around, and, you know, I've seen, you know, where Phil will say, you know, like things are looking pretty good, you know, and I'm like, you know, he said that during the last generation, and I was like, where are they looking pretty good? You know what I mean? And a lot of people who fanboys, you know, that it was in their best interest to kind of like toe the company line, had came out later, you know, after this generation started, and goes, you know, it wasn't really that good of a generation last time. And I'm like, you could have admitted that earlier, and you might have got a response earlier. Microsoft might have woke up earlier, woke up faster, and actually did something about it. But, you know, too many of these people were just like, no, wait till E3, wait till E3, wait till E3, you know. And it's like, no, stop waiting. Like, you need to play games today. You're not promised tomorrow, man. I always tell people that. I was like, I'm playing games right now. That's when I need the games, right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that goes to speak with anything for any of these companies, right? You know, yeah, like people have asked me, you know, aren't you interested? Like, I always see the big list of all the things Microsoft is working on. And they're like, "What, are you interested in Perfect Dark?" I'm like, at this point, I'm not sure Perfect Dark is ever coming, like ever. Like, if I'm being honest, like, why would I be excited about something that I seen a title screen and it's in the ether right now?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, no, that's. I mean, I can understand that point of view based on, you know, their delivery. And I keep saying this. I don't judge companies, especially in video games. I don't judge companies by potential, by what ifs, by hope. I judge them based on their deliverables, and the deliverables here are video games. You know, and you know, it's. People are saying Sony paid BRAP to criticize Xbox, just like Sony paid Arkane to make Redfall look and run like crap. You know, and that's the thing. You know, this is the thing. This is the thing that's kind of interesting. It's kind of fascinating to see how this ABK deal is kind of on really, I think, has, if anything, what I've seen with the ABK deal, it's really highlighted the dogma in certain gaming communities, and it's highlighted how, I mean, just it's really highlighted the tribalism, and it's just I don't I don't understand the need to try to validate a purchase that you've made as a consumer. In a lot of ways, when I listen to some podcasts that are, you know, more the, you know, and I refer to them as fanatical podcasts, because when you think about the tribalism, the dogma, the dogmatic, you know, views, and how myopic people are, it's almost like cult like behavior. It's and I don't understand, because it's video games. Like, this is supposed to be for entertainment. Video games are supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be about tribalism and cult like behavior and the idea that you have to be all in or you're out. You know, that's weird. And this deal's kind of highlighted that to me, where I've seen some of this behavior. But what you kind of mentioned about, you know, the accountability thing, I'm not going to say everyone, and again, I'm using Twitter as a very small sample size, but
of course,
but there are people that do, and I think you mentioned that too. There are people that do hold the platform owners accountable, as they should, and there's others who just don't. They just deflect. They counter with whataboutisms, and I've said this on the show before. Some of the responses are responses that I would expect from my 9-year-old when I'm having a conversation with him. Well, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. Bah. It's like, are you, like, we're supposed to be adults here. The kind of emotion that you have over a plastic box should not be, you shouldn't have that kind of emotion, is my point. I understand being passionate about video games, but my goodness, like, to get upset, to have any, you know, Caps Crush's Twitter isn't real, BRAP. It's, you know, I think it's very real for some people, but and some people are, you know, doing it for entertainment, and they have, you know, online personas and stuff like that. But yeah, but it's just it's just it's an unfortunate side of gaming, and you know, it's unfortunate that you can't. Even when you offer constructive criticism, you're met with responses that, you know, are on the level of, again, the kind of dialogue I would have with my 9-year-old son. So
well, and I think some people some people see like the weirdest negatives in like the most welcoming places. Like, I'm gonna be at, like, some of my friends and stuff that have, you know, maybe gotten Xbox or only played on Xbox. The only reason I ever want them to get a PlayStation is so they can experience, you know, more and, you know, a wider variety of games, right? It's all about just bringing them even more of what, you know, I'm potentially, you know, I'm really good at, personally, observation, right? It's one of my strongest suits, right? So I'm really good at, you know, observing what people tend to like, and you know, what interest or things to suggest to people. I've gotten tons of people into, like you said, PC gaming, into anime, into all kinds of stuff. They were like, oh, you know, people I know that I never watch anime, you know, and I've set them off, and now they're major anime fans or whatever. You know, there's always something or some way to get someone into something, and to let them see, like, hey, look, there's something in here for you. And that's all it's ever really about, man. But it's like some people just think it's like some sort of negative, or you're trying to get at them, and it's like, nah, man. Like, I welcome tons of people into the community. I seen somebody recently on my timeline that, you know, when they first came in, you know, it was Xbox till I die, you know, and then they got a PS5, and now they're like, oh my god, you know, when they were playing Ghost of Tsushima for the first time. And I was like, yeah, there you go, you know, because I know that feeling. You know, I booted that game up my first time, you know, and you're getting to play it, you know, the definitive edition on PS5, and I know you loving it. You know, he doesn't like his Xbox less. He's just having a ball. You know what I'm saying? And he's enjoying gaming the way that, you know, I would hope people who claim to be as passionate about gaming as we are is what they're doing. That's the goal, right?
Look at it. Let's just keep it real for just a second. I'm starting to see that some of these people really don't love video games.
Yeah.
They just love arguing. They love being part of a community. Maybe that fills some kind of void that they have, but they don't care. They don't care. They don't really love video games. They just don't.
This is true.
You wouldn't root for a company to fail. You wouldn't root for a company to see their demise. You know, you just wouldn't do. And I see that. I've seen this with the ABK deal. You know, oh, good for F Sony, and I hope that Microsoft puts them out of. Why would you want that? Like, why would you pom or champion another company putting another company out of business? Why? If you love gaming, why would you do that? You don't love video games. You don't love it. And we had Game Logic on here. We did a BRAP Red. He's like, look, there's just a lot of frauds out there, and you know, I've never really used that word before. But I've come to the realization that they are frauds out there that claim they love video games, but they love the idea of being a part of a community than they actually do playing video games.
They do.
You know, and all you have to do is
I've told people you got to be careful, man.
Yeah.
You know, the more money that shows up in this community, you know, the fact that we're the number one entertainment entity in the world now, you know, gaming has been for a long time, for like several years running. People see the money, people follow the money, people see, you know, hey, if I look like this and I act like this and I conduct myself this way, you know, I can get a piece of that, you know, whether or not people, as long as people believe I am the person I say I am. And it's become pretty apparent, you know, and people, you know, try to defend some of these people. You know, they're like, oh, you know, well, you know, you don't have to be this or you don't have to be that. Like I remember, and I don't even know if you saw this, but well, no, you would have definitely had to see it, but it was pretty crazy for a minute. But I went into a back and forth for a moment with I think she's the marketing leader or something for Xbox or something, and she was literally trying to redefine the definition of what it means to be a gamer. And she was so upset because I tweeted back at her the definition, and I was like, I'm sorry, like, but like basically we got to stop this. Like, you must play a game to be a gamer. Let's stop. That's a full stop. Like, no, I'm not saying what you play or how you play or any of that. You gotta play though. Like, she was trying to say, like, no, you can, like,
oh, she was saying you can watch. You can watch.
You can watch.
No, that's not not a gamer. No, I disagree with that. No, that is trying to I don't agree with that. I mean, that's basically trying to redefine what a gamer is, and watching video games or being part of a community isn't a gamer. That's just not. You're just not a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like me saying That's like me saying, hey, right? I'm an NFL professional. You know? Yeah, it's like me saying I'm an NFL professional. I don't play football. I watch, but hey, I'm a pro.
Exactly.
You know, or I'm a professional wrestler because I watch AEW Dynamite or, you know, Monday Night Raw. No, I'm not. So, but I want to go to this tweet by the good folks at Arkane. And look, Arkane is one of my favorite studios, by the way. If you haven't played Dishonored, you need to play Dishonored. You need to play Dishonored like today. Oh, what are the so real quick, and I just wanted to preface this real quick, Nate, so because I know people are gonna. It's unfortunate I have to say this, but I'm going to because I hope people understand that you can have constructive criticisms about products that you purchase. I have. If you missed it earlier in the show, I talked about there's 3 Xboxes in my house right now. There's 2 Series X consoles, a Series S and a Series S. I have been part of the Xbox ecosystem since 2001. So 22 years, going on 22 years. I was an Xbox Live beta tester. The original Xbox actually overtook my preferred console at the time, PlayStation 2, to become my preferred platform at the time. And then I never looked back at. I still had PlayStation, but it wasn't. Xbox was my primary console for most of all of after the OG Xbox release, the Xbox 360, and then probably about half of the Xbox One gen, and then I went back to PlayStation because of video games, because of content, because Microsoft wasn't really delivering a lot of content, and they were, I'm not going to revisit the history there. The Xbox One, we all know that history, but and I was an Xbox Live beta tester for those who don't know. So there's a certain standard that I have with the Xbox ecosystem that goes back 21 years. And that standard's based on content that they release in that 21 years that I've been spending money in the Xbox ecosystem. I still spend money in the Xbox ecosystem today. I subscribe to Game Pass. I bought many Xbox controllers. I have an Elite 2 controller. I mentioned the consoles that I've all bought, the new series consoles, 3 of them. So, but my expectation, my use case for the Xbox in the 21 years comes from a place of content, where we talk about Halo, what Halo did to the industry. We talk about those wow moments when we first saw Gears. I've talked about things like Ninja Gaiden. I've talked about games that were born on the Xbox platform, like Splinter Cell. I talk about some of the great games that came out, like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Mech Assault, Unreal Championship. Forza was born on the OG Xbox. And there was a time where Microsoft was just delivering so much great content. There was new games being born on the platform. Otogi from Software, published by Sega, was a timed exclusive game for the original Xbox. And it was a different time, I think, Nate, like where I feel Microsoft was really firing on all cylinders and just delivering content. And that delivery pipeline, that content for me, if I'm benchmarking Xbox One through this generation, and I'm looking at what they did previously from a content perspective on the OG Xbox and the 360. I mean, for me, like if you look at those games that release, and I just listed a couple, there's more. If you look at those console generations, they're much better than what Xbox has been producing since the Xbox One and even through the series generation. That's not to take away there's been some great things, some really good things with the Series S, the stealth drop of Hi-Fi Rush being one of them. I think for Game Pass still is a great value proposition. I think Phil Spencer getting more Japanese content into Game Pass, like Dragon Quest XI, Persona 5, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3. I think those are big gets. Neo Kuni 2 is in Game Pass now. I really hope that, because Xbox fans like to prop up Game Pass a lot, I really hope that some of them, and we saw it in 8, like, Sony's not, they're paying developers not to support Xbox. Let's stop with the deflection for just a second, people. Like, do you understand a business transaction involves two parties, two consenting parties? Like, it's not like Sony rolls up like a mafia boss and it's like, hey, you're gonna take this deal, you're gonna be sleeping with the fishes. No, that's not how that works.
Not at all.
But so my criticism comes from that benchmark, from looking at what they've done previously up until what they're doing now. And that's why I'm critical of the platform, because from some of the games they released previously on other consoles, they did a much better job, in my opinion, on releasing a steady stream of content on the original Xbox and the Xbox 360. And they just haven't done it. So that's where my criticism comes from. Go ahead, man.
No, I was saying I agree. I think for me the biggest thing that is hard for some people to understand, right, is that while yeah, we're talking about the ABK acquisition and them purchasing Bethesda, which by the way, I'm actually glad they purchased Bethesda, which people wouldn't even think, right? And I'm a major Bethesda fan, right? I've been a Bethesda fan before half these people even knew they existed, right? I'm glad they purchased them because I know they were struggling financially, right? And I expect the financials of Microsoft to support them, right? That from that
Well,
point of view, I'm happy
yeah.
that they
Well,
got them, right?
what a lot of people don't know, and Nate, just kind of piggyback off what you said, Bethesda ZeniMax historically had run very lean as an organization.
Exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
And
yeah, they were struggling, and I don't want that company who has created some of my favorite games to go anywhere. They needed the backing. My hopes is that they get it and they get everything together and they start to run like a well-oiled machine again and really get some stuff out the door. But when it comes to what I want personally from Xbox, I have no interest in what they're doing with ABK because I know that's not going to result in new games for the next 5 to 8 years, right? Like that's about a whole different thing that has no interest for me. What I want from them personally is for them to deliver from these other first parties and like let's not act like they didn't have first party studios before they started acquiring things, right?
they
you
did.
know um yeah, they did, right? Like I mentioned Perfect Dark earlier. Like yes, I want to be excited about these other games. I want to know what the hell the initiative is working on. You know what I'm saying? Like this super duper holy moly company that was supposed to be put together with the dream team that's supposed to do this amazing thing that we've seen pictures of Phil smiling playing this game that no one knows what it is, and it's like I want to see these games. I want these new games the same way I want Naughty Dog to work on a new IP, and they are. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want from them. I don't want you to get a list of a bunch of games that used to be everywhere and go, look, we own them now. Like I get that's something funny for Twitter and people to make these really big lists and go, look at all these companies we own. That's cute. Like at the end of the day, I want to experience, new things that have never been done, that have new ideas. And I want to, like you said, at one point, Xbox kind of had a particular identity, right? People try to pin it down here or there with, PlayStation, the third person over the shoulder kind of thing. But the reality is, I mean, they have much more than that, right? And and like you said, it's not to belittle Microsoft's efforts. Yeah, they have been getting some of the stuff on the platform that's been missing for many years. But a lot of people don't even understand the history with that, right? A lot of people don't even remember that Yakuza was actually, in the story came out not too long ago, that Yakuza was offered to Xbox first.
Mm-hmm.
And they said no. You know what I mean? Like, but everybody keeps the blame game is it's Sony's fault. It's Sony's fault. It's Sony's fault. They did this and they did that, and it's like no, a lot of this is actually Microsoft's fault. They had a lot of chances to get a lot of things first that they turned down
Mm.
or just didn't jump on, right? And it's like I get people have a vision for Microsoft as a whole company as the smartest people in the room, but plenty of companies have made a bunch of stupid decisions. I think I think people have a wrong idea. Just because someone works at your company with a crazy IQ doesn't mean they're particularly responsible or understanding of the market that one of your brands is particularly in. So like everybody thinks like when they think of the entity that is Microsoft, it's this
Mm.
super smart, conglomerate that is can just do no wrong. And it's like, well, clearly that's not the case over the years. But yeah, like I said, I mean, ultimately, like you said, I'm where you're at with it. I want to see what these first party studios can really do. I hear about it and I hear the whimsical nature behind a lot of people's excitement, but I'm like, I can only be excited for so long when I'm like, eventually I'm like, where is it?
Yeah.
And I didn't forget about the stuff that was in development prior to, just because we're having a conversation about ABK. That doesn't excuse all the other stuff that's been in development. And it's like, where is it? Why is it taking so long? I now thankfully I don't it doesn't bother me as much because I'm not solely invested in that platform the way some people are. But I would think some people who are solely invested in that platform, that it would bother them at some point, and that's really where, like we said, the accountability comes in, where it's like, tell me something, update me, what's really going on behind closed doors. And it's like, if you don't say it, it eventually comes out. We get reports from all the studios, via Jason Schreier and some of the other people, and some of the happenings about what's going on. But it's like, if you're upfront and you're transparent, most people are gonna hear you out, right? But eventually
it's called managing expectations.
The hard questions.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I hope if you're only on the Xbox platform, you start asking those hard questions, because again, and we've said it on this show before, they have an issue with managing their production pipeline. David Jaffe just said it recently today too. He tweeted out again. He said, look, they, for some reason, have an issue with their production pipeline. Look, no one's discounting the Hi-Fi Rush stealth release. That was I thought brilliant on their part. Thought it was great. But again, they've had issues for the production pipeline. Halo Infinite, as an example, Starfield being delayed twice, and now we have Redfall, which is releasing this month, and we find out that Redfall is only launching with a quality mode of Xbox Series X 4K 30 FPS, the Series S 1440p 30 FPS, with a 60 FPS performance mode that will be added via game update at a later date. We don't know when that later date is. We don't know if it's a week, 2 days, a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road. But what's trivial about this is that this is a first person shooter, and I the issue that I have is, look, and I don't know if you play a lot of shooters on your PC, but like but like you play Halo Infinite right now, you can play it at 120 FPS on the Series X. I'm playing it at 144 on PC. There's certain genres that 60 FPS is a must. Fighting games would be one, and the other would be shooters. This is a first person shooter. This game should not be 30 FPS as a shooter. That's not acceptable to me. I agree. To me, that is a standard at this point in first person shooters and fighting games. Like that's just not acceptable. And I've seen people say, "Oh, well, what's the big deal?" And screw what those. I saw one guy say, "Screw what those analysts and reporters are saying about this game being 30 FPS. I'm going to buy it day one." You're part of the problem. One, you don't understand the fact that this is a shooter, and that you probably bought a $500 box, which I might add that Microsoft marketed as a machine that eats monsters for breakfast.
That is what they sold. Power your dreams, man.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I've had an issue with. I mean, outside of Microsoft's issues with their managing the production pipeline, their marketing has not been great this generation, I don't think. And I don't see a lot of Xbox Series marketing on television. I really don't see it at all, to be frank. I see more PlayStation advertisement. I see Nintendo advertisement. But I'm not seeing, and of course, I'm not seeing any advertisement really for Redfall. I'll tell you what's being advertised, and I'm going to talk about this too, because this is something that people don't think about as it relates to Redfall and where its release window is. I'm going to talk about this in a sec, but I'm seeing EA is really putting money into the marketing of Jedi Survivor. I think they're anticipating big things for this game. They're putting a lot of money to this.
Jedi Survivor has been everywhere. So I'm even excited, and I haven't even finished the first one. I'm still working on it myself.
So I'm
pushing me because of the marketing is so rampant.
Yeah, Matty B says you clearly don't eat Oreos, Brap. Plenty of ads there. Thank you, Matty B. Yes, you do get those ads, but I'm saying, like, they marketed this thing as, machine, the most powerful console ever, the most powerful console in the world. And you got to remember, we heard the podcast before, before the consoles launch. Oh, 12 teraflop machine, it's gonna kill the Sony PlayStation, this and that, and I'm just starting to do my Bill Clinton impersonation. But it's just like it was all propaganda. But you also look at the marketing, and to me, they just haven't delivered anything that says to me, or that shows that, hey, this in fact is the most powerful console on the planet. This is the most powerful console this generation. I haven't seen a showpiece of a video game from them, from their first party. And I don't want to hear, oh, just wait. Because we're going to what, year 3?
Year 3.
And your competition is release games? Oh, X-Abbott, I will give you Forza. Forza does look good, but Forza is also a racing game. Those aren't that demanding per se. And again, not to take away from Forza's beauty, it's a beautiful looking game. I don't disagree, but they haven't had that showpiece that makes me say, oh wow. And by the way, Forza looks good every console generation too, X-Abbott, but they haven't. It does. They haven't had that moment of, wow, this looks amazing. I mean, for crying out loud, like Sony's had like 2 games that have come out that have been cross-generational games that look better than anything I've seen on the Xbox Series X to date. God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West.
Horizon is still just booting that game up on the OLED, man. It's just it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. But and that's kind of my thing. Like, again, my criticism is based on this particular criticism I'm making about them not showing or having that showpiece, is that the way they marketed this machine, it eats monsters for breakfast. It's the most powerful console on planet Earth.
Well, that's kind of what leans towards what I've been talking about with a couple of my circles and stuff. And I was like, some of this stuff wouldn't hit so hard or be such a detriment if everything wasn't being hyped, to the stratosphere, and then the world's most powerful, and it's just going to destroy everything, and all the propaganda, between all the Xbox podcasts. I've listened to some of them. You would have thought Xbox was in the greatest position in life if you listen to some of these podcasts.
Yeah, this is X-Abbott says this is why you don't buy on promises, buy on the results. So I don't disagree. I think that's a great point, X-Abbott, that don't listen to the marketing. Yeah. But look, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire here, because Aaron Greenberg on Twitter back in May 20th, May 7th of 2020, somebody asked him about what the FPS standard output would be. He said 60 FPS. This is Aaron Greenberg, head of marketing. Said 60 FPS will be the standard output, but the architecture allows us to support up to 120 FPS. Now, obviously, fast forward 3 years, the 120 FPS we find out that's probably for older games. Even Halo Infinite will support that. But if you're saying the standard output 60 FPS, RedFall's at 30 FPS. And again, where's the production management or the management of production where someone is watching this game in development saying, hey, wait a minute, because what we're hearing now out of RedFall is that it could be potentially an optimization issue. And we're talking about an optimization issue this close to launch on the PC side. I think you mentioned this earlier, Nate, where they were the people that they flew out to test this game. The game was running on PC. Now we're finding out from those folks that went to this preview that in fact that the game was running like 1080p on the PC and having some performance issues. Again, where's the? And I know you. And I don't know what you do. You mentioned you're in IT, but I can tell you that I've been around program managers, and project managers, software developers in the line of work that I do. I'm not a developer, but I see how the software development lifecycle works. I see the checks and balances. I see heads roll when it looks like something may not release in a good state. Again, where
you gotta hold your teams accountable.
Yeah, like where is that person internally at Xbox saying, guys, wait a minute here. What do you mean this is released at 30 FPS? This is a first person shooter. This genre demands 60 FPS. We've also marketed this product as a machine that eats monsters for breakfast. What do you mean? PC optimization? How can we help? What can we do? This can't release at 60 FPS at launch. What do you mean a patch? Like where are those questions? And maybe those questions are happening internally. But I guess my overall point though, Nate, is that Microsoft just seems to be tripping over themselves.
I'm glad somebody else sees it.
And again, I'm basing this on tangible evidence here, things that we can see. This is their first big first party release this year that's exclusive to the Series S and Series X. And Xbox is telling us, for a genre where 60 FPS is pretty much standard, that this game is not going to release at 30 FPS, and we'll patch it in, but we're not telling you when we're going to patch it in at a later date,
at an undisclosed date. And it's funny you mentioned it, because the person who just super chatted you, Morgan, I was actually talking to her.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab the super chat here in a minute, but yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was talking to her earlier in the day, and we were talking about this because we were like, some people were trying to, run excuses, and they were like, oh, maybe it'll be a day one patch. I was like, if it was a day one patch, they would have said that. If it was 2 weeks out, they would have said that. The reason it's undisclosed is because they don't know when it's going to be patched to 60 FPS. They know they plan to get there, but we don't even know when it is.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. I mean, it's again, this is them tripping over themselves again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Starfield delayed twice. And then they set the expectation of, these are the games you're going to be playing the next year, next 12 months. That didn't happen.
That definitely did not happen.
RedFall, it's a first person shooter. The expectation with FPS games, and look, let's face it, with both platform owners here, both PlayStation and Xbox, what do they sell us on, Nate? Next generation experiences, right? These systems could do things that never been done before, and part of that is 60 FPS, especially with shooters.
It is.
And here we are in 2023, and Microsoft, you're telling me that you can't get a game that, for what I've seen, doesn't look visually intensive. And I understand. Look, I understand the PC optimization piece. That's fine. But why is this? Why isn't this fixed now? 2 weeks before. When is this game released again? Is it the 27th?
I think it's May. I thought it was May 2nd.
No, I think it's. I thought it was. Hold on, let me just check here real quick, because I thought it was. Let me see here real quick.
Yeah, May 2nd, 2023.
Is it May 2nd? Okay, yeah, May 2nd. Yeah. May 2nd, 2023. Okay. So this game releases in about 3 weeks. And you're telling me that this game's not going to launch with a 60 FPS mode on a first-person shooter. Unacceptable. Again, the marketing, and I agree with what X Abbott said earlier, but they did market it. And I don't disagree with them, but this is their marketing. And when you look at the competitor's actually giving you tangible things that they marketed in terms of hardware functionality with the DualSense and content. Right? Let me grab the super chat real quick.
I can promise anybody, that the moment you take the PS5 out the box and you boot up Astrobot, that your PlayStation 5 is going to do something your other PlayStation did not. I can promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, that's one of the first games I played. I remember, that experience of the DualSense. I'm like, my goodness. I was like, I thought, look, going into the PlayStation 5, the DualSense, I'm like, it's probably a gimmick. that was seriously.
I was the same way.
Yeah,
the same way.
But they gave us a tangible experience. They showed us how it works. And I got to tell you, the haptic feedback on the DualSense Edge is, I think, better than the regular DualSense.
Yeah, I'm thankful to have one of those, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I haven't used another one of my controllers since my girlfriend got me that as a gift.
I haven't either, man. I haven't either, man.
That controller is amazing.
Yeah, no, it really is. Let me get the super chat to Morgan Kimes. Thank you, Morgan, for the super chat. With the $10 super chat, says, let's just hope it's a locked 30 FPS. I'm going to say I would imagine it's locked. If this is not locked 30 FPS, there's bigger problems.
We hope.
I would imagine. I think it's going to be locked FPS. But again, I mean. Dark Soul says, I'm sorry, a 30 FPS at 23 is unacceptable, especially for a shooter. The fact is it's not running 120 FPS on Xbox Series S is unacceptable for something that's so-called powerful. Again, I don't disagree. And again,
let's be honest here. Like, one of the things that, like, I and like you said, I've played Arkane games and stuff like that, but this game's not the hottest looking thing on the planet. Like, and it's like, it's still struggling. That just seems so weird to me. Like, I could understand if this thing was just, at least stepping on Horizon Forbidden West toes or something, but it's not the prettiest thing. And it's like, you're still struggling, really? I don't get it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, why was it allowed to get to the point where before launch, you're releasing this game at 30 FPS? And that's that project management, whatever you want to call it, that I feel is missing. That production pipeline management, or that management of the production pipeline, that seems to be missing. Like Game Logic's talked about in links on this show, and I heard David Jaffe talk about this a lot too. And Game Logic's bringing it from a software development perspective because that's what he does. But it's just mind blowing to me. And again, it's Xbox set the expectation. My critique of Xbox is based on the expectation they set with me as a consumer. They said, look, BRAP, here's this new $500 box. And by the way, I do like the design of the Series X more than I do the PS5. PS5's ugly. I don't like it. I think it's ugly. But the Series X, here's this thing, it's $500, 12 teraflops. It'll make waffles for you in the morning. It'll do your homework, your kids' homework. And here we are. And it's like the software releases haven't coincided with what they sold or marketed the Xbox Series console as. And that's my issue, Nate. And that's I don't understand what's happening, why it's happening. But here's the thing. What games release in April? What big games, I should say. What's that?
Nothing.
No, there's some big games launching in April. Hold on just a sec here.
Oh, I thought you were referring to like their first party.
Oh no, not Microsoft. No, not Microsoft.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Jedi
sorry.
Survivor is coming.
Well, Jedi Survivor comes end of April, 27th. Mm-hmm. All right, that's a big AAA game. Then you have
got Dying Light 2.
You have Dying Light 2, which is also end of April. But then you have The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, May 12th. You have this game sandwiched in between these two big IPs. One's going to be platform exclusive to Nintendo. One's going to be multi-plat. Okay? I mean, are people really going to remember Redfall? I mean, how much is? Like, this is. I don't know if this game, and I'm wondering, but I don't know if this game, if it bounces back after that 60 FPS patch.
I mean, it could be another Back for Blood, I won't really know till I really dig in, but I did notice, there seems to be some sort of tagline with the need to keep referring to this game as being like Borderlands. And personally, I'm one of the biggest Borderlands fans on the planet, and nothing about this game screams Borderlands to me, other than the fact that there's 4 people on the screen via co-op. But hey, look,
it's not Borderlands. At least in Borderlands, your progression with your friends would carry over.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like here, like you can play with your friends. You play with your friends. You're gonna have to replay that story in order for you to get credit or to progress. That's one of the things that kind of
speaking of which, though, is one of the things that I don't understand with a lot of co-op design
Mhm.
is that Borderlands it has been a majorly popular game and has done the progression and cross progression systems really well. And I just don't understand how that hasn't become a standard for people who are designing co-op games at this point. Like, I mean, you can jump in, you can play with me at a certain part of Borderlands randomly, and then hop back in your game. And once you get to the part where you started with me, it'll just ask you if you want to skip, and it'll put you ahead in the story right where you were. I'm like, I don't understand what seems to be so hard about that, or why that decision isn't standard in a lot of co-op based games. Like, it's honestly, it's largely an issue because um, not only that, but you tend to lose progression when you play co-op. So you're being punished. We get a lot of games that are like, oh, they promote co-op, and it's like, but if you play with your friend makes all this progress. You get to keep maybe your money, or some items, and then you got to go back to your game and you got to play it all over again. And it's like, games have got to stop punishing people for the co-op experience. Like that's another big issue.
Yeah. Well, and I bring up, again, I bring up those games, the release of those bigger titles, because Borderlands is not Borderlands, excuse me, Redfall is sandwiched in between those games, and do those releases potentially, maybe not so much, maybe the Zelda, but it may be. I mean, but maybe Zelda does take the eyeballs off Redfall for people who are multi-platform owners. But there's other games that are releasing that are probably going to release in a better state, or release that are bigger titles that may have more eyes on them. And I think Redfall's kind of in this.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's not going to get any better for them come June. You're going to have even more major releases coming out. So if it can't hit the ground running, and keep this game going, then yeah, I mean it could fall flat really really quickly.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I don't know if it's going to hold the interest of people. It will, I think, some, but I think it might get lost in the shuffle in between those big releases, because it's sandwiched between those big games. And like you said, the other releases that are coming in June, and we have Final Fantasy 16 new footage we're seeing tomorrow, new Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailers coming out tomorrow. I mean, so I just,
and we're gonna get to see more Final Fantasy 16 tomorrow.
Yeah, so. And I expect that's a fair point. Like, Arkane is not getting attention, kind of par for the course. Yeah, I would say that to an extent. But Deathloop was a game that got a lot of attention, and even to an extent, yeah. I mean, even the first Dishonored got some buzz, and Dishonored 2 to an extent, but Deathloop, I mean, was up there for Game of the Year nominations, and was really was critically acclaimed. But my point is, I think sandwiched in between those games, I'm not so sure this thing's going to have legs. But we'll see. Hopefully it does. I want to look. I love the games Arkane has released. Dishonored being my favorite, but I don't know this game. And this game's never really resonated with me in any way. And I've said this before. Just really never really moved the needle for me. There's just something has just seemed off to me about this game. Like every time I would see gameplay, I'm like, I don't know, it's just something just seems off. I kind of felt that way about actually Forspoken. A lot of people have been comparing Forspoken to this, which is silly, but I just don't get.
What's the irony is that the reaction to Forspoken after, for people who've actually played it, has actually been the opposite. Like, people have just been actually liking the game, which is funny because before it came out, it was getting torn up. So I thought that was pretty funny how that reversed. Now that I see a ton of people on my timeline actually completing it and having a ton of fun with it. So yeah, this game kind of could run into the hype train issue, like you said. But yeah, it was always kind of off for me. There was something about it where I was like, it doesn't quite look like the quality that I've even personally known from Arkane. It's got that Arkane sheen on it, I don't know how to describe it any other way.
It does,
Like
yeah.
the
It has
games
that
have
arcade
this kind
shooter,
of
yeah.
shine to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's definitely an Arkane game. But I'm gonna be honest, man. When you play a lot of games the way that we do, I'm really spoiled, and I pay heavy attention to detail. So when I see certain things off, or characters running in place, or certain animation qualities, like it throws me off and pulls me out of the game. Um, and I mean, a lot of people will say, some of them might not notice that stuff, but I definitely do. And I think more people do over time as we get more and more into people getting to experience some of these higher quality experiences. And I'm spoiled, I'm not gonna lie. Naughty Dog's insane at some of the stuff that they do. So the way we talk about it, the way you hold a gun, even in the recent Resident Evil, right? RE4, people talked about how he'll switch to the close stance, when the mob is too close to you. And he switches it back and holds it at the angle so that he can get the proper distancing when shooting, like stuff like that. All that kind of stuff is like key, man. I love that kind of stuff in games. And I had a conversation with Rob, who I mean, this man has gotten to work with some of the top people now. He worked at and I think you've actually talked to Rob before on Twitter, but he worked at Sony Santa Monica, and he worked on The Last of Us Part One.
Yeah, he talked about the attention to detail was insane.
Yeah, exactly. And that is like, he even asked us at one point while in a space, was like, what do you guys notice? Do you guys notice that? Because he's like, as an animator, I love doing this stuff to the most insane detail. And he came out really happy with that conversation, because we explained to him all the little teeny tiny things in these games that we play from them that we enjoy. And he was like, see, that's the feedback he likes and gets to hear from us, as just purely as another gamer. Like, hey, this work that I do is not going unnoticed. All this attention to detail, that foot landing on that step just the right way, that motion engine. Like, this was something like most people don't. And like I said, you could just be a gamer and not know this stuff, but I find this stuff fascinating, right? The fact that the way the walking is in like Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, they created a motion engine that, based on the speed that the person presses the controller, it goes through basically a bunch of calculations and of different animations, and picks different ones depending on the speed at which you press the button, so that your character steps correctly. Like, that is insane to me.
Yeah. No,
like,
I mean,
that's the quality I'm looking for.
Look, the one thing that I've noticed with PlayStation, Nintendo, with Nintendo, their gameplay is they're masters at gameplay. I mean, their gameplay mechanics are just solid. I mean, always. And PlayStation just got that level of quality with their first party. And so when I come to Xbox, and look, I love Halo Infinite's gunplay, fantastic, but they have a content issue with that game. There's just a certain quality that I feel has been missing outside of a few games that Xbox has. That they don't have that from a first party perspective, have had that consistent quality that a Nintendo or Sony's had in the 21 years that I've been in the Xbox ecosystem. I feel like the quality was higher during the OG Xbox and Xbox 360 eras, but since the Xbox One and this generation, I mean, outside of maybe like a Forza or some like a Hi-Fi Rush, I mean, it hasn't been there consistently, and that's kind of been frustrating for me, because again, I'm benchmarking where they were previously in the OG Xbox and the Xbox 360 in terms of their software releases and the quality of those releases and the consistency of those releases.
Better and better.
Yeah, you would, absolutely. I mean, they're only one generation behind, like 5 years behind. Actually, 2001. So they're about, I think PlayStation's got like 6 years on them in terms of making hardware. But I mean, in the past, they've shown that they've been able to build relationships with, get great second party titles. And really release content that moves the needle. And they did it with Halo Gears and Forza when Forza first came out, and then Forza Horizon. So I do hope though that this patch does release soon, because look, at the very least, even though this game really didn't move the needle for me and Nate, I was going to give it a shot anyway because it's in Game Pass and I pay for Game Pass. I figured, let me try it out. Maybe I like it. But again, there's something just about the game just didn't really resonate with me or move the needle. Something seemed off. I feel like the gameplay is a little bit slower than I would like for a shooter like that. Xbox says the quality of 360 games were not that great. I don't know. I thought Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon were great. I thought Gears was great. I thought the Forza iterations on 360 were great.
I mean, they had Project Gotham Racing even back then.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were some. I thought there were some really good games on the 360. I mean, obviously, I think the online DLC, I think the system, that certainly added a different, dynamic or layer to the games that you couldn't get like on PlayStation 3. Absolutely, but I think some of their games were definitely they had some really good games. Is my point, but. But yeah, I mean, there. Again, looking at RedFall, there's just something that was kind of, again, it really wasn't moving the needle for me. The gameplay seemed a little bit slower for a game that what I thought was going to be maybe a little more fast paced, giving close quarters, the close quarters combat, and the guns just really seemed like they had a lot of weight to them either.
Yeah, it definitely seemed kind of floaty. It's kind of like
when you play Call of Duty, I'm sorry, real quick, when you play Call of Duty, those guns, like each gun has like this unique characteristic to it in terms of its feel, right?
Extremely distinct.
Yes, and kudos to Activision being able to do that with a variety of different guns. I mean, excuse me, a lot of different guns. You're right; they are very distinct in how they feel, and when you shoot them, you can definitely feel how distinct they are. But I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
No, you're good. But no, I was saying, yeah, I mean that all that plays like a really big factor. No, I think again, it depends on what people play and stuff like that. And like I said, some of us just play a bigger variety of games than others. So, like I said, it's funny that you specifically brought up COD, because I bought it day one. This is the first COD I bought, honestly, since like Black Ops 4. Obviously with the promise of the remake and stuff like that, and them going back to kind of the roots of some of the map design and stuff. But the one thing, like you said, that is really, really stands out when you play COD is there are, man, 45, 50 weapons, and they add more with the battle pass every time. And the new season just started today and so on and so forth. But every single gun has this really unique profile, but nothing feels like you said, everything feels punchy and very like you said, there's not one gun, just because some of them even look kind of similar, but the profile and the way that the handling, the ADS, everything is just completely different, right? That takes that takes a lot to do in an FPS. And that team really kind of knocked it out of the park. But it goes to show how important gunplay is in a shooter. That's largely why COD has been where it's been and enjoyed the fanfare that it had for so long, even with some of the weird decisions they made with map designs and being able to jump over a ceiling and all kinds of weird stuff they've done over the years, is that the gunplay has always been front and center. So yeah, immediately when you see something that's prioritized being as a shooter and the gunplay looks kind of iffy, that's something that's definitely, I mean, I would expect from anyone who's a fan of shooters for that to kind of throw you off. Now, yeah, ultimately, yeah, we could play it and be like, oh, this is great, and I hope we do. I hope it is great. Like you said, I'm a fan of Arkane as well. I think they've done great work, like you said, especially with the Dishonored series, and stuff like that. So I know they've got the talent. I this is just a different type of game for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they can really measure up and transition to the genre and not become the next Back for Blood. So
You know,
interesting, man.
I was thinking about Back for Blood when this news came out. I'm like, oh my god, I hope this doesn't become like Arkane's Back for Blood. And again, I like I said earlier, this is Xbox. Just again, they've done some good things this generation, but I just feel like they keep tripping over their own feet. With delays, with this news of Redfall, with not living up to the marketing hype of the Series X. Yeah, yeah. And
Well,
again, like
it's a combination of all these things, right?
yeah,
And that's really the problem is like all this stuff just keeps kind of piling up and piling up. And it's like, yeah, you get the little win, right? You got the Hi-Fi Rush stealth drop, and it's like, all right, cool. And you had Horizon 5, but um, and I like I said, I got more time in Horizon 5 than most people talk about that game more than they play it. Like I've got I'm saying I've got tons and tons of hours in that game. Over $100 million made in that game or whatever. Like I love that game. But those can't be your only two W's in 3 years. Like you need more, right? And it
yeah,
can't just be while you, like you said, Game Pass is a great value proposition. Nobody's taking that away. I have it. You know what I'm saying? I often don't use it because I own too many other games personally, and I'm just tied down with my backlog. Um, but yeah, like you said, it serves as like a trial for something like the upcoming Redfall, and stuff like that. But that can't be it. You need more than that. You need the showpieces. Like I said, the key here is that you mentioned two games that were cross generational, but those weren't even it, right? That were showpieces, right? Like just like I told you, just coming out the box, I was surprised, and I'm not even. And I told you this earlier. Like I mentioned, platformers is something that I kind of came away from, that haven't really enticed me as much. I prefer stuff with a lot more complex mechanics usually, but I was actually impressed with Astrobot. But besides that, the game does look really good. But besides that, I'm not even a Souls fan, but Demon Souls is god tier when it comes to graphics, man. That team doing that remake, that game looks unbelievable. So like, I mean, when you're talking
yeah.
about your company launching with a lot of these games, on top of that with Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank, which also that game looks like glass sometimes, Ratchet and Clank, man.
That was
Um,
another PS5 exclusive. Again, I mean that was a showpiece.
yep. Yeah, it's just when the other company's just releasing like that and has done so consistently during the same time frame, it's like when is your cadence going to get up? Like I keep hearing it, wait till Microsoft, gets all these companies firing on all cylinders and this, and I'm like, when is it going to happen?
Yeah, I've been hearing. I feel like
Like,
I've been hearing this for the last 5 or 6 years. And again, like Phil saying, "We hear you." We're gonna do better. Like that. That's become a tired trope at this point. Like
yeah, and it's like
it's
and like you said, it's good on them to get the Japanese games and some of the other stuff, but I don't want the Me Too product. I don't want you to do the thing the other thing does. I want to know what you do that no one else does. That's what I
yeah.
want from you. Like
Well,
the way people
I think that's been
gravitated to
I
the
think that's been
Xbox for
Game Pass,
Halo.
Nate. I think that's been Game Pass though. I think that's the
Well,
differentiator.
it has been, which is cool but sad at the same time. Like cool because hey, you got to play, some third party stuff, some really solid games. They got Monster Hunter Rise, day one and stuff like that. Like when it came to the higher end systems and stuff. But like where's the things that you do only, not just Game Pass but game wise, where like I told you earlier, where's the Perfect Dark, where's the whatever the initiative is working on, and so on and so forth. Like let the coalition do something different. Can they do something different? Can they, like, I don't know, man, like all the new, I guess, in this new generation. All I'm really seeing is like, all right, cool. I enjoyed Forza, but I mean, it's and I love that game, but it's largely Forza 1.5. Forza
Yeah.
Horizon 4 1.5. And I loved it. Like I said, like I still play it, but I need these shocking experiences. Like I said, that world most powerful console. I need the game to match that tagline, that power your dreams slogan. You sold me all this. You had all these taglines.
Mm-hmm.
You, where is the games to back it up? That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah,
don't
no, I don't
another
disagree.
mistake people make: don't count stuff too early. I keep seeing this. People get excited about certain things too early,
Well, I mean,
and then they get shut down.
this is kind of like I look, man, I kind of have to poke fun at some of the more fanatical elements of the Xbox community, but this is what they do. It's I'm referring to them as the Michael Pachter of having the Michael Pachter effect, where the joke of Michael Pachter is whatever he says is going to happen, the opposite happens.
Yeah,
And Redfall is a recent example of this. The hype of Redfall was unbelievable. Oh, Redfall! Oh, it's like, guys, like let's temper the expectation, judge the game when it releases. But they hyped, again, not all Xbox fans, but the more fanatical ones, hyped this game Redfall, and we're kind of like snubbing their nose at the PlayStation fans, because they always feel the need to one up the PlayStation community, and the PlayStation fanatical side does the same thing. It's kind of a back and forth between those two groups. But the fact of the matter is, look, I mean, you hype it up, and then we hate the Redfall news, and it's like, guys, just stop. And I'm afraid they're putting unrealistic expectations on Starfield as well. So just stop doing that. Just stop. Just let the game release. Stop hyping these games, because this kind of adds to the egg on the face here. It's like, well, you guys are overhyping these games, and then we get the news. It's kind of like, I call it the Pachter effect now. And I agree with everything you said here, Nate, about living up to the marketing and delivering that wow moment, that giving you something that you can't get anywhere else. And I think that you can't get anywhere else is Game Pass, and that's okay. I mean, that's a nice value proposition. I just don't think Game Pass is really going to be something that moves the needle unless they start dropping those wow moments into Game Pass.
Exactly.
And I think that you look at like the UK sales charts that just came out recently, Xbox hardware sales being down, PlayStation 5 hard sales being up over 100% again. And you look at, I think Christopher Dring from Game Industry Biz gave the breakdown. He said, look, it's pretty much the same right now in terms of market share between PS5 and Xbox Series consoles versus PS4 and Xbox One. But the advantage that the Xbox Series console should have is that it has a cheaper SKU. It has the Xbox Series S, and that's a cheaper entry point to quote unquote next gen that Microsoft has, but that's not even really moving the needle per se. I think it did initially have some impact, but maybe that demand's kind of tapered off. I think
they definitely hit a plateau where it's like you got to do something else to show. Like their concern is no longer the people who bought one. Their concern is, why have all the people who haven't bought one? You need those people to buy one. Like why is this person on the fence? Why is that person on the fence? Like they need more, more customers or more gamers on board. And it's like, now you got to prove to them that it's worth the purchase. That's the key.
Look, I've been saying this for years. They need that Halo moment again. They need something that moves the needle. They don't have that must-have killer app that says, holy shit, I need to go out and buy an Xbox Series X today. They just don't have it. And look, I'll be frank. Right now, you don't need a Series X to enjoy Game Pass. Save your money, get a Series S. Like why? I mean, like, there isn't anything out there that I've seen that leads me to believe you have to have a Series X. Just save the $200 and get a Series S. That would be my advice to someone who's thinking about buying a Series console right now.
I mean, I'm a graphic snob, so
no, I get it.
Recommend my friends to buy top tier, but
yeah, no, unless somebody said to me, "Hey, BRAP," someone said, "Hey, BRAP, I need to have the best performance from a console perspective." I go Series X, but I would say, look, you really don't need it. Just if you're going to use Game Pass, just get a Series S.
Yeah,
get it, and you're fine. And that's not that is again the reason why I say that is because of they just haven't. Again, they haven't had that killer app. must-have game for the Series X. That wow moment. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, same. I mean, I expected to see it by now, but like I said, at this point, it has less of an effect on me. Like I tell people, because I play so many things. I play on PC, I play on PlayStation, I play on Switch. That I'm never really starved for anything that I want. Game wise, like there's always something for me to play. And I play such a huge variety of genres that I'm never bored. So it's like that's not a problem for me. But like I said, if I was solely on the Xbox, like I'd have a ton of questions right now, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, look, Nate, I want to say thank you again, man, for joining the show today. Man, I really appreciate your time, and great having you on as well, man. And just great conversation. And again, love the gaming setup, man. It is awesome. It is awesome.
Appreciate it, bro.
Absolutely. So, also want to give a big shout to everyone in the live chat. Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate the time, the support, as always. There'd be no BRAP without the support of everyone here in the live chat, and for those who have subscribed, and to those who are going to listen to the show later on. But please do me a favor, leave some comments in the comments section below. Let me know if you have any concerns about, or actually, let me know if you even care about Redfall being 30 FPS, or if you feel like, hey, no, this is a first-person shooter. This game must be at 60 FPS. There's no excuse for that. Please let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. But yeah, no, everyone, thank you so much in the live chat. Please do me a favor. We have over 100 people here watching. Please smash that like button. And if you're new to the show, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you are alerted when we go live. And Nate, I don't know if you want to be found, but if you want to be found on the Twitters, let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, man, just on Twitter at @TheRealInnate. Yeah, man, just you can always catch me keeping it gaming, man. I'm all about the games. I'm all about playing some dope games. I'm all about being introduced to some dope games. So people can always hit me up with suggestions or whatever. But yeah, or following me and showing me some dope gameplay. But yeah, that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I will say this though. As much as I've been critical of some of the more fanatical Xbox fans kind of damage controlling this announcement, I've seen other Xbox fans for saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this is not acceptable." And I would hope that continues to be the case, because the more you voice that opinion and hold them accountable to an extent, hopefully they listen and do better. And that's what you should be doing as a consumer. But anyhow, yeah. But no, Nate, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on again. And big shout out to the rest of the BRAP panel members who couldn't make it tonight. Slomo Backslap, B Money 101, and Gaming Forte. Missed you gentlemen this evening, but they'll be back on next week. So everyone, thank you again. And I'm actually going to go back to playing some Resident Evil 4 Remake. It is a solid game. Great remake, by the way. Definitely enjoying it more than Resident Evil 8. But yeah, hopefully I wrap that up soon and get to some other games. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week. Have fun playing video games, because remember, that's what it's all about, having fun. And I'll probably do a BRAP rant at some point later this week. So if you aren't following me on Twitter, please give me a follow at BRAP_podcast so you can get up to speed with all the show updates when we go live, things like that. So again, I'm probably going to do a BRAP rant probably Friday or Saturday, I'm thinking. So, but yeah, give me a follow on Twitter. And thank you again, everyone, in the live chat for hanging out this evening. We'll catch you next time.